Eat like a king who's on a budget. 3 tasty options, fries, drink, and nuggets. All for $5. Wait, that can't be right. Just confirm that that's the real price. BK, have it your way.
Welcome into LeatherBrainz, your host Slapdog, and we have to give a shout out to our sponsors, Burger King. If you are eating, the only place to go is Burger King. They have a delicious barbecue brisket Whopper. Go check out Burger King. Stop by your nearest store and get yourself a barbecue brisket Whopper by Burger King. Thank you for sponsoring the show and keeping the lights on. Welcome into LeatherBrainz, your host Slapdog here, and I'm joined today by Scotty Del Rey. Unfortunately, Alan Casanova Castro is not with us today due to some unfortunate and sad news. There was a passing in the family, so both him and Yeti, a lot of people do not know. Yeti, our main graphic designer here, and Alan are cousins. They lost a loved one, so they are not here with us today. They are in our thoughts and prayers. But Scotty, I've got you here, and we're going to be talking football. That is what we're here to do, is talk shop about football, and week 3 was one for the ages. We had Kickoff Gate. That was a huge thing that happened this week, and we'll get into it. We're also going to do Monday Night Preview, and we're also going to talk about some of the other games that may have been some snoozers and or great finishes. We're going to do it all today, Scotty. So are you? I have to ask you, are you prepared?
Oh, prepared? Prepared's a tough... I don't know if I'd say I'm prepared, but I'm definitely ready to... Are ready and prepared the same thing? I feel ready. I do not feel prepared.
I don't think they're the same thing. I think ready is like you're gearing up for it, but prepared is like you've studied for the test.
Yeah, that's right. Like I'm hyped up and ready to go. Prepared though, I'm never prepared. Okay. I'm more of a vibes guy than a preparation guy.
Let's vibe it out. This show's all about getting silly today and good vibes. So with that being said, let's talk about we're a Bears podcast this year. So I wanted to start off by talking about the Bears because what a beatdown it was against the Cowgirls. I was actually really, really happy about this. There was, we are a Bears podcast this season specifically. We have stated we are pro Bears. So it was good to see Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson come out and get a win. The unfortunate thing that happened in this game, in the Bears winning 31-14, was of course CeeDee Lamb. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks with I want to say it was a high ankle sprain. Yes, that's what it's been confirmed that is the case. But I really had high expectations for just a gunslinging shootout in this one. And because CeeDee Lamb left the game really early, that kind of maybe changed that game script. But, both these defenses aren't wonderful. The Cowboys definitely have a lot of holes at defense. And, namely losing Micah Parsons was a huge loss for them. And it's starting to show throughout these last couple games that they've played. So, but I was hyped. I was hyped for this. I was hyped for, I don't like the Cowboys, so I always like to see them fall. And as a Bears podcast this year, I was very, very, very excited to see that the Bears crushed them in this one.
Yeah, the Cowboys defense is really bad. It's like really bad.
It's
like I know, I'm not sure that Micah Parsons would have, obviously it would have been better, but I'm not sure that Micah Parsons was the key to holding it all together because it just seems pathetic.
It would have helped.
It definitely would have helped. There's no doubt about it, but helped insofar as making it usable or just a little bit better.
I think so.
I don't know.
At least in this game specifically, because as a Bears podcast, I've watched the Bears the last few weeks, and one of the things that really is to their detriment is when Caleb Williams is off script, which seemed to be quite a bit because the pass rush was just getting home so quickly. And they didn't have that in this game. So Caleb Williams, he didn't look bad. I mean, he didn't look, he went 298 for 4 touchdowns. So I also say, I think Micah probably would have at least helped a little bit, but I also think losing CeeDee Lamb, that's a huge loss for really the remainder of, I don't want to say the whole season, but that's a large chunk of the season. That's a third of the season that CeeDee Lamb is now going to be gone for them. The Cowboys are in big trouble. I mean, they're in big trouble.
You know who else is in big trouble? All of my fantasy leagues, bro. I'm telling you right now, this is the most cursed year I've ever had fantasy-wise. This is the one year I went out and got stacks with Joe Burrow and one of the 2 Bengals wide receivers on several teams. I had CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott on several teams because I thought this offense was going to be killer. Ashton Jeanty, we haven't even talked about that yet. Yeah. I got him on several leagues. This is the worst fantasy fantasy year I've ever had, and I feel like there are lots of people in this boat with me.
No, you're not the only one.
We're all just looking around going, what the fuck happened? It's like a nuclear bomb just detonated.
Well, like Quentin Johnston is a top 10 wide receiver this year, and that as a week 3, and that's a surprise to everybody because he was on the waiver wire and was kind of out. Like this year has been just a giant what the F is going on. And all those stacks, I'm guilty of it too. I have a CeeDee Lamb Dak stack, and it's looking bleak, my friend. So you're not alone. Terrible. I promise you. I feel
alone with all the L's that I'm taking.
Well,
the other point is, before we move on,
yeah,
I cut down my fantasy leagues, as you know. I left several leagues because I was in like 9 of them last year, and that's just not any fun for anybody. So I cut it down, and I was like, I'm really gonna focus, and it made me worse, I think. Like now that I'm actually
sounds like the key is you need more fantasy.
I'm putting my brain into decisions, and that's a terrible idea, it turns out. Like I really just need to go on vibes. It's just when you think too much, I ruin it all.
Yeah, that's why you don't go in prepared for anything. You just go off the vibes.
Yeah.
And you try to be prepared, and I think it's showing now.
I really did.
That's unfortunate. Well, there was a team who wasn't prepared this week, Scotty, and it was the Raiders because the Commanders absolutely decimated them 41-24. And, this is really the interesting thing in this game is Jaden Daniels wasn't even in this game. It was Marcus Mariota. And there's not really much to dissect here on this side of the ball. This is just a fun little snippet that I saw and I thought I would include is Marcus Mariota. He actually played for Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly was his head coach when Marcus Mariota was at Oregon. And Chip Kelly is now the Raiders offensive coordinator. So this is the first time the two have ever played against each other. Thought that was kind of fun. I really enjoyed watching Mariota in college, and Chip Kelly, I love the offenses that he schemes up. But I didn't get it done today for the Raiders, or yesterday, namely. But really, what I wanted to talk about in this game was Ashton Jeanty, because this is not looking great for him. Through 3 games, he's gotten the ball 47 times for 144 yards and a touchdown. He is averaging 3.1 yards per carry, and then he's caught 5 of 6 targets for 3 yards in total through the air. So, Allen's not here, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to pick his brain on this. Allen was stating all offseason that he's not an Ashton Jeanty believer, and I don't know, like it's not looking great. Like he was supposed to be the savior of this running back room and be the next thing since sliced cheese, and he's getting sliced.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on him. Obviously, he hasn't had the impact that we hoped he would have, but this Raiders offensive line looks worse than we expected also. Yeah. And through 3 games, we knew their defense was going to be bad, and when you talk about allowing 40-some points to Marcus Mariota, that demonstrates that pretty well. But the offensive line is like a really, really big problem, more so than we expected, and that obviously directly impacts Jeanty and his ability to make things happen. So I'm not ready to blame Jeanty yet. I think that it's just an unfortunate situation. The Raiders are just not a very good football team. They are very clearly the worst team in the division. They've got some bright spots, and the offense looks more competent than it did when it had, 4 backups rotating through as the starters. But it's still just not very good, and I'm not sure that you can hold any one person accountable for that.
Well, Brock Bowers has also been not a huge factor this season either, which kind of I think is surprising to some people. I'm not as surprised, I guess, solely because you do have a new quarterback there in Geno Smith, and he is able to probably throw the ball longer than 20 yards, which any quarterback Brock Bowers has played with at the pro level had not been able to do that. So he's not getting as hyper targeted as many had thought and or hoped he would. But that's just another thing that's kind of interesting too. I mean, Trey Tucker had 3 touchdowns yesterday. He's another waiver wire guy just sitting there, and his target volume is climbing. So, I think from the Raiders' perspective, the biggest concern here is, of course, not only their defense, but their offensive line definitely showed a lot of failure and the ability to protect and also run the ball, and that's really a concern. So. Not a great look for you as a Chiefs fan. You're probably happy.
Dude, this is a bright spot. I mean, so far this season has been like one big knife to the heart, but this is a bright spot. Watching the Raiders just suck. I love that.
Yeah, and they did. And it is also worth noting Jaden Daniels will be sitting out again this upcoming week for the Commanders because Mariota played okay enough for him to. They're like, okay, Jaden, we'll give him another week of rest. We can roll Mariota out. So that is going to happen. So interested to see. I don't know who the Commanders actually play this next week. But hopefully, I think all Commanders fans are hoping it is going to be the Falcons, so they'll win that game too. And let's keep the train rolling here. Let's talk about the Falcons. Panthers 30, Falcons 0. Scotty, I'm fired up for this one. I'm fired up for this one.
I know, bro.
I feel very validated. I'm going to be completely honest. MK, he's one of our fantasy analysts here at LeatherBrainz. He works, and he's also the host for Fantasy Brains. That's kind of the other half of what we do, in which they really delve into fantasy football side of things. He was so adamant that the Falcons are a good team, and I had stated at the beginning of the season, and gotten a lot of flack for it, that I think Raheem Morris is going to be fired by the end of the year. And he's like, that's completely outlandish. What a crazy thought. This Falcons defense is good. And that was that. We have a group text going in which the entire LeatherBrainz team is in, and Charlie, MK's. I hope they're listening, by the way. Charlie's. He's the co-host for MK on the other side, and Charlie had said even when they were losing in that game, the defense looks so good. So, MK, Charlie, if you guys want to believe that the defense is really that good, two things. This is a mutually exclusive thing here. Is the Panthers offense elite? Because they put up 30 points against the Falcons. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that the Falcons defense really is that good, then you have to also believe that the Panthers offense is elite, in which I don't, because I don't believe the Panthers offense is elite. And I think the Falcons are fucking terrible. I think the Falcons are bad. And it's not because of the players on the field. It's because of poor coaching. And it goes a step even further, Scotty. And this happened in this game. Kirk Cousins came off the bench, and they benched Michael Penix Jr. after Michael Penix Jr. threw his second interception for the day. This is the spicy news here, and this is what I don't think enough NFL media headlines are really talking about. Granted, they were losing quite handily. It was in the fourth quarter. But Kirk Cousins came off the bench, and this wasn't we're going to put in all of our second stringers. I believe the majority of the first string was still on there. However, they just swapped KIRKO CHAINZ. What muddy waters we have now entered for the Falcons fans and the community of the Falcons. And I'm curious to know what you think on this, because this is very alarming for me. And as somebody who's not a Falcons fan, but I have plenty of Falcons players because we all believe they were going to do great.
Yeah, I think my take on it is a lot less spicy, which is this is one game. We see blowouts all the time in the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Any one of these teams is capable of beating any other teams, and that doesn't mean that we're not surprised when the Panthers put up 30 points and the Falcons put up a goose egg, but it's just one game. And the fact that KIRKO CHAINZ came in the fourth quarter of a blowout, I don't really think that's too surprising either. It's you're swapping your starting quarterback out. He's having a bad day. You're not going to win the game. Just get him off the field and move on. I don't think this has any implications for Michael Penix. I think they very clearly moved on to him last year, and they're not going to change that now. He's a first-round pick. I know they're paying Kirk Cousins a bunch of money, but I don't think they're going to want to. I'll say this. I'll turn this into a spicy take for you.
Okay, thank you.
If they swap back and forth between Penix and KIRKO CHAINZ, depending on who's winning and who is losing, then I will agree with you that this coaching staff is a bunch of morons, 100%. Because the front office made these weird decisions, and I don't know to what degree Morris, contributed to that, where they drafted Penix after they paid KIRKO CHAINZ and all this stuff, and then they benched Kirk Cousins at the end of last season. There's a lot of weird stuff there, but when they benched Kirk Cousins, that was a decision. And now if they're going to go back on that decision, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that's just even more evidence that the organization is totally dysfunctional, and I'm going to be totally on board with you then. I think that everything so far has been pretty dysfunctional. I don't know how much blame you can put on the coaching staff versus the front office as far as the quarterback situation goes, but this is definitely a coaching decision, and if it turns into something more than, hey, it was a blowout, we just put in our second string quarterback, then I'm going to agree with you 100%. But so far, I'm thinking it was a bad game. It was one game. It'll be fine.
Could you not argue that, even last year, when the Falcons were still competing for a playoff spot and they made this decision, in hindsight, it looked like the right decision, right? Because Michael Penix came out through the last 3 games and looked a hell of a lot better than Kirk Cousins was playing, but that was still a questionable call. And that didn't... I'm struggling to believe that was pressure from the front office. I think that was a coaching decision. Now, we're not going to know that, but I think that was a coaching decision.
I could see an argument either way, but even if it was a coaching decision, that particular coaching decision, as strange as it looks to us on the outside, makes a lot more sense than having a quarterback battle in year 2. So
Which
you
is
drafted
now,
a guy. Yeah, you drafted a guy in the first round. The older quarterback that you paid, coming off an Achilles injury, is not playing very well. There's a lot of pressure to put the young guy in, and there are plenty of teams across the NFL that are dealing with that right now. But once you get into year 2, you can't go back. That's way more inexcusable to me.
But did they? And that's the question at hand. Is
only time will tell. But I don't think so.
I tend to believe that Michael Penix will be rolled out as the starter next week. But what happens if this is another, a similar situation where it's a blowout? We're entering the fourth quarter. They're playing the Commanders next week, and then the Bills, and then the 49ers. That's a tough slate. That is a tough slate for a team that is 1-2 right now and has not performed at the level in which all Falcons fans had assumed that they were going to entering year 2. So if they continue this wishy-washiness, then will you get on board that Raheem Morris is the problem?
Yeah, I mean, if they're having trouble deciding who their starting quarterback is in year 2, then yes, I agree, because they brought this sort of problem on themselves, and that's very stupid. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think it was a blowout, put in the second stringer
against the Panthers, though, and that's the other thing that I really want to hone in on is this Panthers team has shown promise at the end of last year, has come out of the gate this year and not looked great, and so. What's your outlook on the Panthers? We've seen 2 games of this season so far of the Panthers, and it hasn't looked good. And then they come in and they actually perform at a decent level against the Falcons. So are we assuming that the Panthers are now a better team than maybe perhaps we thought they were? Or do we think their Falcons really did just drop a goose egg and this was more of an anomaly and the Falcons are going to be back and the Panthers are still bad?
I'm more toward the latter. Okay. I don't think the Falcons are bad enough to get blown out by the Panthers by 30 points. I don't think that this is definitely an anomaly for sure. Even if the Panthers are on upward trajectory for this season, this is still an anomaly. This is not going to happen for them very often. The Panthers are a team that I still am. Even last season, as you remember, everyone was real high riding the Bryce Young train, and I was like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Like, we need to see more before we start saying that this guy is going to be a franchise quarterback. And I'm still in that boat where it's like, he's all right. The team's okay. The team's just not really equipped to be a real victorious this season. And so I think you're just going to see some back and forth where sometimes they put it together and other times they look like they've never played football before. And that's just the kind of team the Panthers are.
I'm not getting off the train of the Falcons are bad. Okay, level with me here. Let's look into our crystal balls. Falcons finish the season 8-9. Okay, which honestly, I mean, I had them winning this game, so that even could come into question later. Let's just say, for the sake of conversation, the Falcons go 8-9. I think that's reasonable. I think looking at the schedule at this current moment, that actually could be even maybe farther of a reach than I had anticipated back in preseason. If they finish 8-9. Let's say they finish 7-10. Let's say 7-10, just for sake of conversation. Falcons are 7-10. Do they get rid of Raheem Morris in your mind? No. I think that's a mistake.
I don't really know enough about him, honestly. He doesn't
defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah,
which hasn't panned out at all so far.
That's very true, and that is definitely the most. The thing about the Falcons, though, and we've harped on this so often. The defense has always been a problem in the modern era, but the biggest problem has been the quarterback play. And all Falcons fans are going to agree with that. The defense is annoying, especially the pass rush has been annoying. It seems like that's gotten a little bit better up until this week when obviously they sucked really bad. But there was some reason to be optimistic about the defense moving in the right direction. But even with that problem, everybody knew the big problem in Atlanta is the lack of consistent quarterback play, which is why they got Kirk Cousins and why they drafted Penix. So, to me, Penix is essentially a rookie. He played a few games last season. He's essentially a rookie with a coaching staff that's new. I think he's got time. I mean, of course, everybody's job is on the line if you're going to lose a bunch of games in really embarrassing fashion. So if this game is a trend, then yeah, but I think if they win between 7 and 10 games, I think everybody stays.
These next 3 weeks, they play Commanders, Bills, and 49ers. Okay, I have them losing all 3 of these games, meaning they're going to be 1-7 to start the year.
I think that there is a decent chance that they win at least 2 of those because they're going to be playing backup quarterbacks in 1 for sure, and maybe in 2 of those games. And if you're playing a backup quarterback, there's a decent chance you can win. So. yeah, they could lose all 3, but they also could win 2 of the 3. Obviously, they're going to struggle against the Bills, but the other 2, if Brock Purdy's not back and they're playing Marcus Mariota, like they could easily win those games.
Brock Purdy is slated to be back this week potentially. So if the 49ers are still 2 weeks away. So even if Brock Purdy doesn't come back this week, probably be back next week.
Well, and their whole team is beat up too. I mean,
that's true.
With the 49ers, you just never know.
You don't.
They're going to win the Super Bowl or they're going to miss the playoffs. It's tough to say.
Well, hopefully they miss the playoffs this year. But I'm still on this. I'm still very adamantly standing on the top of the pillar. The Falcons are not a good team, and that I believe that the coaching staff is part of it because there's too much talent on this team, Scotty. There is way too much talent on this team for how underperform. You put up a goose egg against the Panthers. That's a problem to me. When you have Bijan Robinson, Drake London, you want to throw Kyle Pitts in there, Darnell Mooney. Like, there's weapons on this team. For you to not even get into the end zone once, that's concerning to me. So,
yeah, it's just one game though. I mean, it's any given Sunday, anything can happen. What we have to look at is consistency over the course of time. And Michael Penix just has not been around long enough. And frankly, most of the players on this Falcons roster that we're all excited about, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and they're all relatively young guys. Like, we have to look at them from the outside. And I agree with you 100%. Clock is definitely ticking when it comes to contracts, but it's like, I don't know. We just haven't seen enough to make that declaration yet. They're not a Super Bowl team, but they very well might be one of the best teams in their division. I mean, which isn't saying much, but
and that's the other thing is I think maybe they're still the second best team, but if the Panthers put a whooping on them like this and then they do it again later in the season, that conversation is going to change very quickly.
That second matchup is going to be exciting. Watching the rematch between these two guys.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm really interested to see how this game goes next week for them against the Commanders because they are playing Marcus Mariota, and I get it. It's a backup quarterback. He didn't excite me as far as, like he didn't light up the world and look like he was going to make a resurgence of any kind, and obviously he's not with Jaden Daniels there. But if Jaden Daniels is on the fence and they're like, hey, we got this. Just take another week off. We need you to be healthy for, later down in the season. What does this Falcons team look like? And so, like, I'm watching them under a magnifying glass, and I'm sitting here very analytically studying and seeing what are they going to do this week? What are they going to do next week? Because it hasn't looked great. Like, it genuinely hasn't. They beat the Vikings, and the Vikings haven't looked great. And that was with J.J. McCarthy. Carson Wentz looked a lot better, and I'm sure we'll touch on that. Actually, I don't know if we're touching on that game today. We're not. Okay. Well, that's it. I will get off my rant about the Falcons, but I wanted to say that because I still very adamantly believe they're an 8-9 team at best, and Raheem Morris should be on the hot seat. Somebody who should not be on the hot seat, Scotty, is our Lord and Savior, Indiana Jones.
It's crazy.
The Colts, 41-20 against the Titans. The Colts absolutely dominated. Really, it's not Daniel Jones this week. It's more Jonathan Taylor. The guy looked phenomenal. He had 3 touchdowns. He looks like the Jonathan Taylor of old, of like 2 years ago, is back. He looked incredible. But I bring up this game, and I want to talk about this game. Are the Colts like the biggest enigma in the NFL right now?
Here's what's scary. It reminds me a lot of the start the Saints had last year when the Saints scored like 1 billion touchdowns in 3 weeks, and we're like, oh my God, this is like the greatest offense in the history of football. Like, it was unbelievable how good that team looked for a short period of time, and then we all know how it ended up. And it's sort of one of those situations where, like, I've got an angel and devil on my shoulder, and the devil's like, don't believe your lying eyes, bro. Like, you know who Daniel Jones is. You know what this Colts team is, and this is not it. Like, this is not sustainable.
Did the devil say the same thing about Sam Darnold with the Vikings last year, though?
No. I was high on the Vikings last year, as you remember. So the Vikings made perfect sense to me. This does not make any sense to me. But Daniel Jones passes the eye test. Like, it's not just bullshit. You watch him play and you're like, what happened? This guy figured it out. And this I don't know if I brought this up last week.
It's the eye test.
But this is what scares me is that we spent so long defending Brian Daboll.
I know.
Is it Brian Daboll's fault? Like, is he not a quarterback whisperer at all? Like, maybe Josh Allen. We tie it back to Josh Allen and we say, well, Brian Daboll fixed Josh Allen back in the day when he was with him. Maybe Josh Allen is just obviously really, really good at football, and Brian Daboll was riding coattails a little bit. And now he's on his own, and it's looking pretty pathetic. And then he sends this quarterback away that nobody had any faith in, and now this quarterback's like an MVP candidate for a middling team, like a team that's really not that good.
I know. I think the Colts are going to go to the playoffs this year, Scotty.
Well, it seems like it. It seems like they might win the Super
They're
Bowl.
3-0. They're 3-0. This next week is going to be a very telling game. They play the Rams. And so this is going to be really telling. Are the Colts actually something? They played the Broncos, who have a very good defense. Their offense is kind of still trying to figure it out. This is going to be a very good game to watch to give us that indication of what are the Colts, because they're 3-0 right now. Daniel Jones is playing out of his mind. And I want to go back to what you said about Brian Daboll. I'm struggling with that too. I genuinely am struggling with that because I don't think Brian Daboll's the problem. And to be quite honest with you, I still don't know if I think that Brian Daboll's the problem. What I think potentially the problem is the lack of weapons that the Giants have to enable Daniel Jones to succeed. And that's the train that I'm currently riding right now is, do I think that Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback? No. Do I think Daniel Jones is a great quarterback? No. I think what Daniel Jones is he is a guy who can get it done, but he needs talent around him. And he's not a Josh Allen where he's going to go down and get it done with him. He's going to play hero ball. That's not who Daniel Jones is. But if you look at the weapons that the Colts have versus the weapons that he had when he was with the Giants, who did he have? He had Saquon Barkley. And yes, that is a great weapon. I'm not going to deter anything away from that. Who was he throwing the ball to downfield? I was going to say Sterling Shepard, but he had a hell of a week with the Bucs this week, so I don't know. It's really tough for me to sit there and say, like, I still, maybe it's just false optimism that I believe in Brian Daboll a little too much, but I think the situation that Daniel Jones has landed in is much better than it was when he was the starting quarterback for the Giants. And so that's kind of the narrative that I'm telling myself to maybe make myself feel a little bit better about Brian Daboll. I don't know if that's true or not, though, and that's really where I'm struggling. And I think it's going to all come to fruition at some point because Russell Wilson is getting chance to get off the field. And I don't know if you watched the game last night. That was just rough. Like the entire Giant Stadium, and I know we were not talking about.
I put it in that. Oh
yeah. Okay, you did. Okay, well then I'll bookmark this, and we'll talk about that when we get to that game. Let's go to
before you move on here, because this will be a nice bridge between these two topics, or between these two games. Thought experiment as the Colts. It's only 3 games in, but obviously everybody's there is fucking ecstatic. Anthony Richardson is like an afterthought. Yeah. People are like, whatever. Like this dude barely existed, and now we've moved on to the shining light that is Daniel Jones. Has it been enough time for them to officially move on? Like if the Bengals called up for some reason and they're like, hey, our quarterback's injured for forever. We want somebody who's going to mix things up. Not saying that that's going to happen. But from the perspective of the Colts, are they like, yeah, take him. Get him off our roster. We're done.
In my mind, yes. In my mind, and this is 3 games, I think the reality of the situation is it's very similar to Sam Darnold of last year, where it depends on what it looks like. And it's not going to be in a 3-game span. They're not going to offer Daniel Jones a 3-year extension off of these 3 games. It's going to be all season long.
The Giants would do that.
The Giants would do that. They're not. But the possibility, it's got to be out there because the same conversation, NFL media was not having this conversation at this point in the season when we were, and it was about Sam Darnold. I think there's a couple different things that make this different in that fashion. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy, they drafted him with a first-round pick. The Colts, they did do that with Anthony Richardson. That was in years past, right? That was 2 or 3 years ago. So, and they've tried the Anthony Richardson experiment. I believe, even though it is week 3, if Daniel Jones continues this trajectory, which I kind of expect him to at this point, at least be a competent quarterback, the likelihood that he gets re-signed to the Colts is very high to me. I think it'll be a 2 or a 3-year deal. They'll have some sort of out in the event that he regresses to the Daniel Jones we've all come to know and hate. But I think that the possibility is certainly there. And I think it is a higher possibility than the entire Sam Darnold conversation because they found something that is clearly working for them. So all's to say, yeah, I think that they're certainly keeping that front of mind. However, injuries happen. We have seen injuries across the board for quarterbacks already
and
this
for
season.
Daniel Jones. He's got a significant injury history. And I watched a couple of the hits that he took this week. Not well advised. Like he does not really understand how to protect himself just yet. And I think he's just trying to shake off the mentality of when he was with the Giants. He's like, if I don't get this first down, nobody else is getting the first down.
Correct.
And now he can take a step back and say, okay, we got Jonathan Taylor. Like, we'll be all right. We got some weapons.
Yeah, and they do. And so I think that the likelihood of them moving on from Richardson in season is very low because they need a backup quarterback. Because right now, those are very highly sought after at this point. However, I think that let's say the Colts maybe make a wild card push, maybe even win the division. Who knows what's going to happen as the season progresses? But if they continue to play the way that they are, which I kind of expect them to, the likelihood that Daniel Jones gets re-signed is pretty high. And then I think they're going to move on from Anthony Richardson. And I think it's going to be to the, maybe the Steelers, who are on a 1-year deal with Rodgers. And Mike Tomlin has there was some chatter before the season started about Richardson's availability. I could see that happening, and I think that is a really high likelihood. So I will say Anthony Richardson will not be a Colt, but I think it will happen in postseason when the Colts can then find a competent backup quarterback to back up Daniel Jones is kind of where I'm at. You think that holds the ground?
I think so. Makes sense to me. I hope Daniel Jones keeps killing it. It's a lot of fun to watch.
It is. He looks good, man. He looks like it feels weird coming out of my mouth to say Daniel Jones looks like a good quarterback because I don't think I've ever said that before.
Well, it's been years since he looked good, but he did look good at one point in time. There was one point
he beat out Eli Manning.
He looked like he was the next Josh Allen for a while. He looked so good, and then wow, did that turn out bad?
That did not turn out great. Well, let's keep talking about backup quarterbacks because we had the battle of the backups being the Vikings and the Bengals. And dear Lord Almighty, Scotty, if I have to watch Jake Browning take a snap next week, I might legitimately jump off a bridge. This is the worst football ever. It is so terrible. He went 19 for 27, 140 yards, threw 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions. Bengals lose this game 48-10. This team, the Bengals are fucking screwed if they don't get another quarterback. I mean, that is just that. This season for the Bengals is done if the Bengals do not figure out a backup quarterback that is not named Jake Browning.
Here's a hot take for you. They could go get the best backup in the history of the NFL. I think their season's still done because
Hold on.
you're not. Okay.
There is one backup quarterback, and he's sitting on a bench right now.
I know exactly who you're going to say, and that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be great.
It's not going to fix the problems. It's going to make the problems more entertaining.
Who else besides Jameis Winston can throw 500 yards in a game every time? They got weapons. I mean, they got T, they got Jamar. There's no other gunslinger that is sitting on a bench right now that could get a semblance of emulation that is Joe Burrow. Go get Jameis Winston. He's third-string quarterback. Go get him. It would make so much sense for the Bengals. And obviously, I don't know what the Giants want for him. But I think that would be the only thing where I could be like, they might be able to squeak by on a couple wins with Jamie.
Yeah. They'll be more interesting. Definitely. But you need Joe Burrow in order to counteract this defense. You need Joe Burrow who has all of this rapport with his star wide receivers. It's not like Madden. You can't just plug and play any quarterback and have, I've got T. Higgins, I've got Jamar Chase, so we're going to throw for 500 yards. It's not going to happen.
He's going to throw 3 interceptions, but he's going to have 500 yards.
That's the point. It's it's going to be more entertaining. But this team needs Joe Burrow in order to compete at all. They need an elite offense in order to be considered in the conversation for being a playoff team. And without Joe Burrow, they don't have that. And I can't see them this is going to be the norm for the Bengals, unfortunately. And part of it is kind of funny. All those idiots saying, "Oh, Burrowhead, we control Arrowhead."
Well, that's just your
yeah. What it is the Lord and Savior smiting the people who are just talking shit for no reason. This is a team that made it to 1 Super Bowl. Chill out, relax.
Well, the unfortunate reality is they don't have Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow at best is going to come back maybe week 14, maybe. And if they can't squeak by with some wins here, there's no point in bringing Joe Burrow back.
No, it's going to be like the Aaron Rodgers Achilles situation where he's going to be like, I'll be ready. But if they just lose and lose and lose, he's going to be like, never mind. I'm not ready anymore. And we're not going to see him all season.
Is that what you see playing out? Do you think Jake Browning is going to be the starting quarterback next week?
Probably. Jake Browning, here's the thing. This last week looked really bad. Jake Browning has had plenty of good games as the backup quarterback.
Not this year.
Yeah, that's true. But, maybe it takes him a while to get in the swing of things. But he, in his career with the Bengals, there's a reason he's been with the Bengals for as long as he has as the backup, because Joe Burrow gets hurt all the time, and Browning comes in and looks fine. So maybe he'll figure it out.
I will say
they're
this.
Still going to lose. The problem is that the rest of the team is so incomplete. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. That's the team. And you take out one of those 3 pillars. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Chase Brown looks pretty cool too. But you take out one of those pillars and shit falls apart. It doesn't matter. It's just not going to go well, no matter how well he plays.
I will say this. is if Jake Browning has to get rolled out, I probably will not jump off a bridge, but I will want to.
Okay.
However, the Vikings defense is no slouch. Brian Flores puts on a masterclass every single week defensively, and I think that also maybe can contribute to some of the problems that Jake Browning was seeing. That defense is a very hard defense to play. Brian Flores mixes it up very often and makes it very hard to read his defense pre-snap. So I will say that could also be a part of it, but I'm still not. I mean, largely, I think the writing's on the wall for Bengals fans this season, which sucks because I was excited for him. And as somebody who was very interested fantasy football-wise in this offense, it looks absolutely abysmal through.
I regret it so much. I knew. Joe Burrow stayed healthy all year last year. There's just fucking no chance he does that again, and I did it anyway. I did it anyway.
I did it too. Because I was like, he's going to be fine. And I knew better. Because it's
Joke's
like every
on
other
us.
year.
He's not going to be fine. We got to remember this for next year. He's not going to be fine. That's why we get T-shirts that say that.
Do you know who was fine, though? Carson Wentz. And this is really the other side of the coin that I really want to talk about here. I mean, the Vikings won this game, like I said, 48-10. And this is the really interesting thing about this entire game was Carson Wentz, because he didn't do terrible. And the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, he said that Carson Wentz earned the start again next week. This is what I want to bring up to you, because this gets really interesting. So there's been a lot of chatter about this whole J.J. McCarthy and this hurt ankle situation, right? And I've seen murmurs that, players for the Vikings were pissed off at the level of play because they want to compete, and J.J. McCarthy doesn't look like he's ready to compete. So I've seen that, there's been chatter that his ankle is not even hurt. And if you went back and if you were watching any of this game with the Bengals and the Vikings, they showed J.J. McCarthy on the sideline. He wasn't wearing an ankle brace. He wasn't wearing a boot. He wasn't wearing anything. He was just standing there in regular athleisure wear, and he was, following along with the headset about the game. So I've seen a lot of people say, is this like a ghost bench by Kevin O'Connell? So it's like, our starting quarterback is hurt, so we're going to play this other guy. If he had an ankle injury and was week to week, and then as soon as they win the game, Kevin O'Connell says, hey, we're going to roll Carson Wentz back out again. Is there a little bit of ground there to say that maybe this was a benching by the Vikings to compete, and Carson Wentz is maybe the guy for them for the foreseeable future? Or do you really think that his ankle is actually hurt and they're just going to roll Carson Wentz out? Where are we drawing the line in the sand at on this one?
I think there's a possibility. There is room for the possibility that they're just not happy with JJ. But this is basically a rookie quarterback who has played 2 total games.
They're
he
didn't look good at him.
He looked fine. I mean, you saw he looked bad, but he rallied. There were positives to take away from it. And being a quarterback is the hardest position in all of sports. You're coming in. This is his first 2 NFL games. You can be disappointed. You can be sad. You can think, oh man, we might be screwed for the future, but you're not benching him after 2 weeks. No reasonable person is doing that with their rookie.
Well, they didn't, and that's the thing, is they didn't bench him. But
that's
hurt.
What I'm saying is that everyone's like, oh, they made up the pain. They made up the injury so they could bench him. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. They're not going to do that, in my opinion. I have too much faith in this coaching staff to believe that they would do something so ridiculous after 2 games. It's 2 games.
See, but that's the thing where, because I have so much faith in Kevin O'Connell as the quarterback whisperer, that's why I could maybe see there being a grain of truth in this, which sounds crazy. And trust me, when I heard this news, I just shook my head and smiled and be like, there's no way. But now I'm like, maybe that's true, because I agree with you. It's 2 games in. I was treating J.J. McCarthy as a rookie quarterback because that's what he is. He has not played an NFL snap until week 1 of this year. So he was hurt all last year, but he hasn't taken an NFL snap. And when the NFL media was like, J.J. McCarthy just freaking killed it against the Bears, he rallied in the fourth quarter. Go back and watch the 3 other quarters, because it was terrible. And he had 1 good quarter, and then he came out, and everybody's like, he's the savior. He's going to be great. And I wasn't writing that narrative. I was like, he had 1 good quarter. That was it. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the next great, and I'm not going to say that he's terrible. It's 1 game, right? But then I saw it again next week, and it looked the same as the first 3 quarters that we watched against the Bears week 1. There's a lot of weapons on this team too, and they're aging assets for some of them, and they are on a level of trying to compete. And I don't think J.J. McCarthy at this current juncture is at the level that they want him to be at in order for them to compete at a high level. That's where I'm maybe buying into this ankle injury as a potential ghost injury to try and buy him more time, because the front office cannot, like, think about the implosion that would happen in NFL media and in the fan base particularly. They can't just say, all right, we're going to bench him for Carson Wentz. They can't say that, because then the question is, why? If you knew what you had in J.J. McCarthy, why in the hell did you not sign Sam Darnold to another 1-year deal or a 2-year deal or whatever? Because that's what comes next, right? Is if you're going to bench him, then you screwed up with Sam Darnold. Those things coincide in that way. They can't say that. So they can't say, we're going to bench this guy and give him more time. So if you come up with this pseudo injury, then it buys you more time to maybe help him develop a little bit more from the sidelines and watch some more film.
Here's why this is nonsense. Because to believe that theory, you have to believe that Kevin O'Connell was not able to properly decide whether or not J.J. McCarthy was going to be the future of his franchise for the entirety of last season, when he got to know him and then got to see him in practice over the course of time. Like, there's just no way Kevin O'Connell doesn't realize that earlier. If they didn't sign Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell was had total faith that JJ was capable of doing the job, and I do not believe that he was so wrong that he decided to bench him after two games. I just don't believe it.
Maybe
it doesn't
it was
make
pressure
sense.
from the front office. I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense, and I don't think the front office is giving Kevin O'Connell any pressure. I think they know where the gems are in that organization.
The other thing too, just to kind of back up this argument or this conversation that is being talked about, nobody could find any ankle injury. Nobody could see him hobbling. Nobody could see him particular play in which. That's
the kind of argument that you hear from somebody who's never stepped on a field or played a sport in their whole lives. An ankle injury doesn't mean you got to be in a wheelchair. It just means at full speed, you're not able to properly cut and put weight on the ankle at game speed. You can walk fine with a torn Achilles, right? That doesn't mean that all Achilles injuries are fake. No, I watched Aaron Rodgers walk off the field with a torn Achilles right after, 30 seconds after carrying out the American flag. Didn't mean he was faking it, okay? He can walk around fine. That's just ridiculous.
Okay. Well, I'm bringing you what the people are saying, and that is being talked about.
These people clearly aren't brainiacs, and maybe they need to get on board. They can learn something.
Maybe they should be. Let's talk about Pee Wee football, Scotty, because we watched it play out against this Texans-Jags game. What a terrible game. This game I was just blown away. I legitimately, I had the option to either sit down and watch Sunday football or go to my nephew's Pee Wee football game. I didn't realize that was one and the same when this Texans-Jags game came on, because that's what this game was. This game was freaking abysmal. And I will say this. There were a couple things I took away from this game. CJ Stroud has 0 time to throw the ball. And it is a problem. We kind of anticipated this being a problem. They got rid of Laramie Tunsil, traded him to the Commanders. Everybody's sitting here questioning why they did that. I'm still questioning why they did that, because this offensive line looks even worse than it was last year, and they gave away their all-pro left tackle for not a lot. And I'm like, what are we doing here? I feel bad for CJ Stroud. And the problem is we last year when we were talking about CJ Stroud, we knew the offensive line was a problem, but we were like, okay, he's having his sophomore slump. This is his 3rd year. And the problem is, we've seen him play at a high level since his first year. So, maybe we give him too much grace, but it's not a good product on the field. CJ Stroud does not look great. And I largely do attribute that to his poor offensive line play. So I wanted to touch on that. And then the quarterback on the other side of the ball, Sarah Jessica Parker, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence. I'm done. I am done. This is it for me. I was never really a believer in Sarah Jessica Parker. This was the nail in the coffin. That she-boy could not hit the broadside of a barn with a football. It was the most embarrassing thing I have ever seen. Missing targets left and right, throwing behind him, throwing too far forward. It was bad. And I'm of the belief, I don't think he's a good quarterback. They're stuck with him because they paid him a shit ton of money. It's a very Tua-esque situation where they overpaid on a guy that they shouldn't have. Now they're stuck with him. I think Sarah Jessica Parker is not a good quarterback. And this game really showcased it to me. And then the last thing, Brian Thomas Jr. is an absolute non-factor for this entire season. Get him, he had his breakout rookie campaign without Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you just need to fucking bench Trevor Lawrence, because that guy is freaking terrible. He's a bad quarterback. He's not good. I'm off on the Jaguars, And I will be the conductor of the train for Trevor Lawrence as a bad quarterback because I saw it this week. I have not seen it throughout the years. I've given him so much grace, and you can thank me for that, Trevor Lawrence, because I've given you a lot of grace with all of the changes at the head coaches and the front office, and it's been year after year where we're like, all right, let's give him one more go around. He had this change. He had this change. At some point, we got to stop making excuses for this guy. I'm done with it. You're a bad quarterback.
I think I agree. I mean, I think everyone who's not a Jags fan has sort of been leaning in that camp. I like you said, with all the head coaching changes, like there's a lot of turmoil in the organization. They had at one point their head coach was like kicking players. I don't know, it was weird. So like
kicking kickers.
Yeah. So we wanted to give it grace and just say we saw Trevor Lawrence in college. He's got the build for it. He's tall. He's athletic. Like he looks like he should be good at this game, but it's like there's no progress. And again, without a consistent head coach, without a consistent playbook, it's difficult to find progress, but it's not impossible. And you're hoping that you see more than what we've seen so far. Like Justin Herbert's a great example because he's gone through something similar, but nobody doubts that Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. And now that he's got some consistency, you see that coming out on the field.
But he's always passed the eye test. And that's the one thing with Trevor Lawrence that I haven't seen. And I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're good. In the NFL, you're right. He just looks uncomfortable. And again, that can be due to a lot of factors. But at some point in time, like you're an NFL quarterback, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You got to go make something happen. You have to give the fan base a reason to believe in you. I don't feel that way about Brian Thomas. I think he's good. He's got something weird going on with injuries, and he's afraid to get hit. And I don't know. It's weird.
That's because Sarah Jessica Parker's throwing hospital balls.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something weird going on there. And then C.J. Stroud, I think offensive line, clear cut. That's the blame. That was the case last year. It's the case this year. We also, I don't know if you remember, but in the preseason there was some talk about C.J. Stroud's shoulder, and at one point the Texans actually said he's not going to have surgery. And we haven't really heard anything about that since then, but okay, if your organization's coming out specifically saying, okay, he's not going to have surgery, that means something's wrong.
Going
on. You're not going to say that about a healthy person. So I think there's more to the story with CJ Stroud too. I still feel like in the right situation, he'll be fine. They have to get that offensive line addressed. And the reason I know that is because we saw my quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, look phenomenal for several years. And now the offensive line is ass. And if you saw Patrick Mahomes from this year and last year at the beginning of his career, everyone would think he's ass too. So, it happens. You need an offensive line to be able to function as a quarterback.
Well, and I think from the Texans' perspective, you saw where they put their focus at, and it was addressing the wide receiver room because last year they were decimated at wide receiver, and that's where we kind of wrote off C.J. Stroud's inability to play was the fact that he didn't have any of his weapons. So they went out, they got Jaden Higgins, they got Jalen Noel, they got Christian Kirk, they moved on from Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell is, I hope he plays football again one day, but it doesn't look bright. They addressed their wide receiver room, which was a huge problem. Don't get me wrong. That they needed some wide receiver help for sure. Now it's our offensive line, and that's not an easy thing to rebuild either. That takes time. That takes picks. That takes high draft capital because everybody. It's not a pretty thing. It's not a shiny thing. But having an elite offensive line is the difference between winning and losing games, and it's showing right here. C.J. Stroud, I'm concerned for him for this year. I mean, obviously the Texans are 0-3 to start the season, which is not great, especially in a division where a lot of people had the Texans as kind of one of the higher contenders there. It's not looking like that. And I think that is largely in part because of the offensive line. So that's my take on that. I think Sarah Jessica Parker is a bad quarterback. I'm done making excuses for him. I think he's just bad.
He's definitely in the camp where he needs to prove us wrong.
That was this whole season, though. That was what everybody was saying this season.
I know, but like I said, we've been giving him so much grace, and NFL fans have, just assuming the same way that we did with Justin Herbert, just assuming eventually it'll come together. He looks like he should be good, but now he's at the point okay, you got to prove that you are because we have no reason to believe it anymore. So I'm with you.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad. This is where you're going to leave me, and it's the Redbirds versus the Miners, a.k.a. the 49ers versus the Cardinals. Dude, I don't even want to... I put this game on here because we got to talk about our teams, but I really don't want to talk about my teams. Or my team. We're not good. Fuck Jonathan Gannon. Fuck Drew Petzig. Fuck Kyler Murray. Screw this whole team. This team is terrible. And I knew that even with us winning, we should have won this game. We should have won this game. We lost this game 15-16. There was like 2 minutes left in the game. We got a safety, and then we just went on like, all right, we played leisure ball. Versus if they were to march down the field and the 49ers were to get a touchdown on that drive, we would have had to play aggressively, and we didn't. And it showed, and we lost this game. I'm sick of it. Get Drew. And the craziest part is, I think Drew Petzing is a fucking idiot. I said that last year. Like, he doesn't know how to run an offense. The fact that he's our offensive coordinator is a joke. There were a lot of problems in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. dropped a wide open ball. That, I threw up in my mouth, and then I had to swallow it. And then I watched DeMarcado do the same fucking thing like a drive later. And I'm like, why can we not catch a damn ball? Like, this is what you're paid millions of dollars to do this freaking job. Catch the ball. Marvin Harrison would have got a touchdown there had he caught that ball. He was wide open. Hit him right in the chest.
I think he was, the real problem is that he was too wide open. And if you played football even at like the high school level, sometimes that does happen where you like the ball's coming at you and you're kind of out of your periphery going, what the fuck? Why am I alone? Where is everybody? And you start thinking. I think that's exactly what happened. He was like, this is definitely a touchdown. He was in his own head. But I feel like we're at the point where we got to start asking some questions about Marvin Harrison Jr. Is he... Like, I see it similar to Brian Thomas, where it's like we expected so much. We expected this big step forward. What's the deal? What's the problem? Is he bad or is it the offense?
We could have had Malik Neighbors, and we blew it for Marvin Harrison Jr. We blew it. That's the
Which one did you want to draft?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Tough.
And now, I wish we could go back in time and take Malik Neighbors, man, because that would be so much cooler.
But is it him or is it the offense? Is it him or is it the coordinator?
I think a little bit of both.
Is it Kyler Murray? That's the real question, honestly.
I think it's a conglomeration of all three. And that's where I don't... Marvin Harrison, I watched him year one. I went back and I watched the all 22, and I watched a lot of film on this guy in year one because the concerns that I saw, you get a different view when you're watching all 22, right? So you get to kind of see the entire field. And I think every football game, they should show that because it's a breath of fresh air. But I went back and I watched the all 22 on Marvin Harrison last year. And what I could see in the snippets, because you can't see the wide receivers running downfield all the time in regulation game, I didn't see a lot of separation from him. And that was my concern. And I watched a lot of all 22, and that was my takeaway is Marvin Harrison Jr. struggles to get separation. And he's a great contested catch guy. Well, the reason he's a great contested catch guy is because he can't fucking get separated, so he's got to make these contested catches, which he does. In college, he did very well. I think he's part of it. He's had a couple drops. He had a drop last week, too, that was really bad. And so I think potentially he could be a part of it, but I still blame Drew Petzing more than I do Marvin Harrison Jr. because he doesn't ski. It's like he's going on Madden, and he's picking plays, and he's like, yeah, we're going to run this one this week. We're going to run this one this week. He's not running an offense at a level in which you expect in the NFL. And great coaches know what they have as far as the talent, and they structure their offense around the talent that they currently have. Who do we have? We have a 5'10" little elf running around in the backfield. Okay, that being Kyler Murray. What does Kyler Murray do well? He runs the ball. Why are we not like heavy play action constantly? That is what we should be doing. Run bootlegs. Kyler Murray, that is where, because he can't, and I've said this before, he can't see over the offensive line because he's too damn short. That's why he's constantly running out of the pocket because he can't see. So from an offensive play calling perspective, I think it's Drew Petzing. And Jonathan Gannon, the head coach for the Cardinals, was actually asked this in a presser post-game about the offense, and he said, I have a plug on the offense. If you want to blame anybody for the offense, it's me. Fine. Fall on the sword, Jonathan Gannon. It's your fucking fault this offense is so bad. If you don't want to throw Drew Petzing under the bus, I'm fine with that. Get out of here. Go find me a guy who can run this offense because there's talent here. Now, we did lose James Conner, and I do want to touch on that because that is really sad. His career is probably over. At his age, he was a captain for the team. The guy for years was a freaking workhorse. He was doing it at the Steelers. He came over to the Cardinals. And I mean, he's a captain for our team. So they might give him a 1-year deal to kind of see if he can figure it out. But all signs are kind of indicating that at his age, I think his career is probably over. He's done for the season for sure. And I think I have a lot of respect for James Conner. The guy, I think, was probably one of the hardest working guys on that field. And to lose him sucks. So Have a lot of respect for Connor, and losing him was a huge blow to us as well. But in large part, I'm just mad we lost this game. If this was a blowout game, I probably wouldn't have even been as mad. But I'm mad because we had the opportunity to win this game and we fucking blew it. And I'm disgusted.
It sucks too because you're playing like the 49ers' entire second string, but at the end of the season, nobody would have remembered that. They would have just been looked back and said, like, oh, shit, the Cardinals beat the 49ers. You remember that in week 3? Nobody would have even remembered that.
I wouldn't have said that had we won, but because we lost, now you're going to remember. And I'm going to be like, we lost the 49ers' second string. Granted, Christian McCaffrey touched the ball a staggering 55% of the time, whether it be running the ball or catching a pass out of the backfield. He's our entire offense right now, which is scary. It's working, but we all know he's got glass legs and freaking paper for hands. Like he's a fragile man. So to give him that much of a workload, 49ers, you got to be a little scared about that.
I'm going to tell you right now, not to continuously harp on about my fantasy football situation, but Christian McCaffrey is the only thing that's working for me, and that's so terrifying. It's like you're holding a 45-pound dumbbell up with a string, and you're just hoping the string doesn't break. That last thread is falling apart. So I need Christian McCaffrey to do something, just stay alive.
He won me in our dynasty league. He won me this week. However, I'm also nervous for those same reasons. Like, if you're going to use this guy that much, like, I'm afraid that he goes down and then I'm done.
It's crazy that he's the last man standing on this team.
I know,
even Bosa's out now. It's like everybody's dead.
Yeah, everybody's gone. Like, this team is decimated. So, all right, that's my rant about the Cardinals this week.
One more thing, but on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kyler Murray's contract situation is. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, but
I want to say 2 or 3 more years, but I will pull it up.
Oh, really?
Because let's talk about it.
Well, I'm just curious, like, as a Cardinals fan, like, you have a better sort of indicator on the pulse of the fan base. Are you guys just done with Kyler at this point? Like, we're only 3 games into the season. Maybe you could turn it around, but
we got him for 2 more years. He'll be 30. We have a potential out in 2028. If we could trade him, I would. I would trade him. I would move on. If we can get enough draft capital, I'd move on from him. Kyler Murray can do things I think that most other quarterbacks cannot do in the league as far as just his athleticism, but his attitude is really I don't like it. You are on this show here, you oftentimes talk about the stoic quarterback, the leadership attributes, those things that you want to see from a quarterback. I've never seen them from Kyler Murray, ever. And, as a veteran leader on this team, I don't like that out of my quarterback. And the fact that, even last year he said, it's not my job to get Marvin Harrison the ball. Whose fucking job is it? Whose job is it to get your wide receiver the football, man? That's your job. So I think Cardinals fans, I would imagine we're probably split about 50-50 in the chatter that I've seen online, where I think a lot of us would be okay moving on from Kyler if the package was correct. And I'm fine with it. Like, if we could re-roll and get a different quarterback at this point in this juncture, I'm fine. Let's move on. Because I think that also is maybe part of the reason why Marvin Harrison, I think Kyler is a little bit to blame in that category as well, about Marv. So there's a lot of things going on with Marv that I don't love, but I think that is part of it as well. So I would be fine with moving on.
It's a tough situation, man. I really thought that Marvin Harrison was going to have a big season. It's still only week 3. We got to remind ourselves of that. It's only week 3.
I know, but it hasn't looked great.
Hasn't
looked great.
Again, I'm going to hark back on the Saints from last year. Week 3 last year, we thought that was a Super Bowl, the greatest fucking NFL team in the history of sports. And they were terrible. It just completely flipped 100% on its head. This could flip on its head, bro. Maybe it'll flip on its head.
I appreciate the optimism. I just don't think it's going to be there. I really don't. We're playing a decimated second-string team, and we still lost, and that sucks.
Division rival, though. Division games are always close, no matter what.
I know. All right. Well, I will give the microphone to you because the Chiefs finally get a win and are now 1-2.
Yeah. First things first, we got to talk about this tweet that I presume only you would have written on our account.
Me?
Yeah, you. Would you like to read the tweet? I'll read it for you. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, why don't you read the tweet for me?
All
I just don't remember sending any tweets.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, first of all, for context, Hunter insists He is absolutely not a Chiefs hater. Well, it depends on the day, because sometimes he admits to being a Chiefs hater, other times he says not. This is what this tweet said, which a lot of people, relatively, I mean, it's not the most successful tweet in the history of Twitter or X or whatever, but, people were liking it.
People did like it. Whatever tweet you might, allegedly.
It says, I think if we're going to ban Tom Brady from announcing a Raiders game, we need to ban Chris Collinsworth from announcing a Chiefs game. You're over there giggling like a
Who would have said that? Who would have said that?
Here's my question, because this is buying into the nonsense that Chris Collinsworth is like sucking off the Chiefs, which
he does.
But here's the thing. He appropriately compliments one of the greatest teams in the history of the NFL, certainly of this era.
I don't even think it's the Chiefs. Let me be very clear.
He says it to everybody. I mean, he's very complimentary of everyone.
I think first off, I can't stand Chris Collinsworth. I cannot stand him as an announcer. That man has Patrick Mahomes' penis so far in his mouth.
Okay, this is why. This is what I want to. This is what I want to talk to you about, because what you are referring to. Will you please tell me the one moment that made this pop into your head during yesterday's game?
I can tell you exactly the moment, but I didn't. Whoever sent the tweet, I'm sure this is the memory that they were thinking of.
All right, okay. What's the moment?
Patrick Mahomes threw a backwards lateral ball, and it was not a good throwing ball, and the running back or whoever it was ended up not catching the ball, and Patrick Mahomes had the wherewithal, which I'm not discrediting Patrick Mahomes in this play specifically, had the wherewithal to understand, because it was a backwards lateral, it's a live ball. So he threw the ball, saw that Pacheco or whoever it was in the backfield didn't catch the ball, and then ran after it. And there was a defensive lineman that jumped on the ball, and Patrick Mahomes stripped it and got the ball back. If it was any other quarterback, Chris Collinsworth would have said, I don't know why you'd throw that ball. That's a very clear not what you should do. I got to give it to the quarterback for putting in that second effort to go and grab that ball, though. That's great. That's what he did. But instead he goes, man, Patrick Mahomes is freaking awesome. Like, there was no slander for the ball thrown. See, and that's what made it come to mind for me. And then I just kept hearing it over and over again, where he's constantly, Patrick Mahomes.
Well, don't move on yet. I want to talk about this one moment, because I knew that this was the moment. When I saw this tweet, I knew that this moment was the bedrock of the tweet. So first things first, Chris Collinsworth specifically said, when going through the replay of this game, Patrick Mahomes, he was saying, as Patrick Mahomes, he's saying he threw the ball, and then he said that was a really bad pass, and that was a backward pass. He specifically said that before he complimented Patrick Mahomes. He called it a bad pass. But the more important thing here is I want you to close your eyes and think back to last season, when we saw one of the coolest plays that any of us, we all agree, we talked about it on this podcast, the announcers talked about it when it happened, and it was none other than Will Levis who hucked a ball directly into a linebacker's chest, one of the worst passes in the history of football, and then Will Levis sprinted down the field and took the ball back.
He did. I remember that.
And we all complimented him for it, and we all said, wow, that was a really cool play. Will Levis is tough. This is the exact same situation, but because it's Patrick Mahomes, everyone's like, oh my God, everyone who says Patrick Mahomes is good is sucking him off. Oh my God. It's because it's Patrick Mahomes. This is a very similar play, threw a bad pass, went and took the ball back. Cool play from a quarterback who is fixing his mistake.
It was cool.
But because it's Patrick Mahomes, now it's like, oh, Chris Collinsworth, he's sucking off Patrick Mahomes because of this play.
No, it wasn't. It was a conglomeration. That was the straw that broke. Whoever tweeted this tweet, this is the straw that broke that camel's back, because I was like, I'm done listening to, I was done, but I didn't send the tweet, but whoever sent that tweet had said, or like, I imagine their thought process is, I'm so sick of hearing him just like, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Okay. Close your eyes.
I gotta look at you. I gotta focus.
No, I want you to imagine something.
Oh, okay.
I want you to imagine all of the juices in the liquid that is dripping from Patrick Mahomes' penis because Chris Collinsworth.
You made me imagine that?
Right. Yeah, I did. Because that's what every fan has to listen to with Chris Collinsworth. I don't even like him as an announcer. I genuinely don't. I think he's annoying. I hate his voice. I hate look, I have said this, Scotty, and I do believe it. Patrick Mahomes is arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever to play in the NFL. He is. So I'm not going to say he's not. But the level of dick sucking that Chris Collinsworth does for Patrick Mahomes is like he will not even be. The craziest part is he will be commenting on other games and still bring up Patrick Mahomes, and I'm just like, dude,
so,
like,
but
shut
this
up.
is the problem. This is the level to which the Chiefs' hatred has permeated everyone's brains subconsciously. Because I don't know if you remember, there was a guy named Tom Brady, and he played in the NFL for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can put together a compilation that goes on for like months of other announcers referring to other quarterbacks in other games. Like, oh, he kind of looked like Tom Brady with that. I don't want to freak.
I think that's poor commentary.
You said this about Jackson Dart. Oh, he kind of looks like Josh Allen. Oh,
okay.
So you're sucking off Josh Allen is what's happening. Chris Collinsworth is a very, very like happy-go-lucky commentator. Yes, his voice is annoying. Of course, I'll grant you that. But if you watch him commentate any game that's not a Chiefs game, he talks up every single player. He's like, oh, this guy's so special. He does this and this and that. Like he does that like upbeat commentating better than anybody else. But because he does it with the Chiefs also, those are the only clips that get shared on social media.
No,
that's the only stuff that gets spread
I think of a
around.
Cowboys game where he just brought up Patrick Mahomes for no reason. I don't remember the game, but I remember it was a Cowboys game and it was not.
There are billions of examples of announcers and people on podcasts doing that.
I don't see Greg Olsen doing that.
I'm sure he's compared people to Patrick Mahomes many times as an announcer.
But not at the level I would love. But one of you brainiacs out there that's tuning into this pointless rant, start a chart of accounts for me as far as all of the commentators and how often they bring up Patrick Mahomes versus Chris Collinsworth. I promise you, Chris Collinsworth will be at the top of that chart.
Even if that's true, he's just right. Because Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback of the era. You should compare people to that.
He is. But whoever put that tweet out was trying to get some fan fodder because he's that mystery guy who sent that tweet. There were people that agreed with it.
Crazy.
There were people that agreed with it.
Yeah, all these people are just, like, they have this brain virus of just hating it. The Chiefs are 1-2, and people still just are chomping at the bit to hate on Patrick Mahomes. It's crazy.
Look, you have to get that. If you're not equipped to ride the highs, then you are not equipped to deal with the hatred that comes with that.
Do you want to try that sentence one more time?
No.
Okay. No, I agree. There's a lot of hatred, and that's fine. It is what it is. But I'm just saying.
You're going to get hate. The Patriots, who I still don't really root for. I like Mike Vrabel. I like Drake May. I think it's going to work out for him. Maybe not this year, but I think like they're creating stability for success. I still can't root for the Patriots. I can't. Like, I because of the stigma of like what the Patriots were and Tom Brady, and I was tired of seeing the success. The same thing happens for the Chiefs. No matter where you go, if you find the level of success, which is very rare in the NFL, obviously it hasn't been for the Chiefs and previously the Patriots, like when you find that level of success, everyone is going to start hating you. Because that's just what happens, because you want change. You want something new. You want the new shiny toy. You're tired of watching the same team over and over again. So, you gotta...
Hey, Janet, shut up. Shut your mouth.
Thank you, Janet.
You're banned from the show.
Janet, you're welcome anytime. Thank you so much.
I'm just kidding, Janet. You're awesome, but I'm really upset about that.
You're going to get hate. You got to expect... You have to embrace the hate. Because it's going to come at you from any angle. Because
I do.
You find that's
what I'm doing right now.
You have.
I'm backed into a corner. I'm fist fighting. I'm fist fighting everybody, including my co-host.
Who's
pretending he's not a hater, but then he's posting hater tweets and then saying people hate the Chiefs. It's all crazy. But okay, here's the thing. Let's talk about the game now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because I am the optimism that was completely decimated. Okay.
Time out. I do just want to say I normally wouldn't. This is rare because there's only two of us, so I will talk about the game with you. But normally I would just leave it for you and Alan. So I just wanted to state that. But go ahead and continue. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I had no optimism after week one. I knew that it was a foreign game. It was weird. Like, you can't really take anything away from it. But our defense looked so pathetic in week one, and I was like, if our defense looks bad and none of our offensive players are on the field, we're host. Like, we're totally screwed. But since then, over the course of week two and then week three, our defense has looked much, much more competent. Yes, we were playing the Giants. I recognize that. But our defense looked much more competent, which makes me feel better. Our offense, for most of this game, still looked like utter garbage. We got Thornton, who looks awesome, but he's about the only player on our offense who looks awesome. The offensive line is still a huge problem. Again, Jawan Taylor needs to be deported to the sun. It's unbelievable.
Did you see whoever tweeted was working the Twitter account at that time? Did you see the tweet that they put out about Jawan Taylor as well?
No, I did not see that one.
They said, whoever tweeted this said, what's a Chiefs game without a Jawan Taylor penalty? Like, they're synonymous with each other.
That's not even... What's a Chief game without 4 Jawan Taylor penalties?
Yeah.
He's the most penalized player in football, and it's like literally not even close. And so after every game for the past 2 years, the coaching staff's like, yeah, Jawan Taylor, he's just really got to clean up those penalties. Well, guess what? Like, the fact that Jawan Taylor is still on the field is demonstrative of how shallow, how thin we are at offensive line. Like,
I agree.
It is unbelievable that this person, and he's actually a decent offensive line when it comes to protecting Patrick Mahomes. Like, his numbers are good, but when you're costing your team 50 yards every single game in penalties, like, at some point in time, you just got to be like, this game's not for you, bro. Like, you got to go find something else to do. You got to find another profession because this clearly doesn't work.
Go be a crash barrier.
It blows my fucking mind that he's still on the field. Again, let's go back to optimism. I'm happy with where the defense is going.
Okay.
I think that once we get Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice back on the field, our offense could look a lot better as long as the offensive line is capable of keeping Patrick Mahomes alive, which I'm not totally confident in that.
Yeah.
But I think that this is still a team that can be a playoff team and compete way down in the line. If we would have lost this game, not only would we be 0-3, but we would have lost to the Giants, and I would have quit on the whole season instantly.
Okay. I mean, I have thoughts about the Chiefs. I always do. I still think you're in for a world of pain this year. I really do. There is a legitimate chance. There was an opportunity for the Giants to actually like win this game. Like that is not out of the realm of possibility. I know the score is 22-9. At one point in time, going into halftime, the Giants, if they would have like figured it out, they could have won this game. Like that was in the realm of possibility. And obviously the Chiefs came out and they won. But I'm not a Chiefs fan. We know this. I would be I would be still very concerned. You barely you beat the Giants, and it wasn't by a large margin, but it's the freaking Giants. Like Russell Wilson looked terrible, and yeah, your defense played at a good level, but it's also Russell Wilson, and it's also the Giants, and I am still very concerned, and I think as most of my family is Chiefs fans, so I was talking with them about this right before we recorded actually, and they're like, "What do you think about the Chiefs? Like we won the game," and I was like, "You won a game that you should, on paper, win handily. Admittedly, I think the Giants could have won this game if they played better. This is the problem. Tyquan Thornton is your best wide receiver. You have no offensive.
I don't think you can say that was shade. He's been playing well.
I'm not saying it was shade, but I'm saying like you're just trying to figure it out until Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are back. Mm-hmm. That's when the season starts for the Chiefs, in my mind, because you're missing and you're playing with Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has not looked great at all this year. Travis Kelce is the fact that he is still playing football is insane to me. Well, you're playing with a geriatric tight end, and they are starting to get Noah Gray more involved because I think the Chiefs are realizing Travis Kelce just ain't got enough.
Well, Noah Gray's been good for years, and
and
really, over the last couple seasons especially, Travis Kelce his usage has dropped off significantly. And you got to remind me to bring this up when Alan's here because I want to talk to him about this. Like Travis Kelce, every single time he's on camera now, and granted, our team has really been struggling for 3 games, so the frustration has been high.
Yeah.
But every time they show Travis Kelce, he's screaming and like arguing with somebody and like
now imagine that in the Swift house.
Andy Reid. I'm just saying, like, you got to get more than like 4 targets and 3 catches before you can start yelling at the head coach. Like, I know you're a legend, bro, but like you got to chill out and recognize what your role is on this team now, which is like you're lucky that you're still here.
That, I think,
Like, stop screaming at the head coach. It's crazy.
No other tight end, if your name was not Travis Kelce, would be employed right now. Because Travis Kelce doesn't look good. Like, genuinely does not look like he has in years past. And even last year we saw it a little bit. He's not the Travis Kelce. He's 36 years old.
Yeah. He's capable of having a big game here and there, but he's not that reliable tight end.
Because the Chiefs allowed him to be. Not because he is at a high level of performance.
Yeah,
and that's just the truth. So, your offense is really struggling. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is kind of reverting back to he was in years ago, where he'll tuck the ball and run it because he has to make a play.
so terrifying. Like
It is you should be terrified. That is terrifying.
Yeah, I'm not like a big tough guy, but I consider myself, relatively stoic in most situations. Patrick Mahomes, anytime he tucks that ball and starts running, I'm like, I get into the fetal position. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, Jesus, like it just
like squint your eyes a little bit so you can still watch, but you really like.
I'm praying to every god that anyone has ever prayed to, like just keep him alive. And then he has this thing where he's like trying to look tough, or he's just frustrated, and he keeps lowering his shoulder instead of sliding. And I'm like, you don't realize how bad this team would be without you, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, you'd be one of the worst teams in the league right now.
We might not win again for the rest of the season. No. Like, you have to protect yourself at all costs because Jawan Taylor's not going to do it. So you have to do it. Like, take it into your own hands.
Jawan Taylor will, but he's going to jump off sides 4 times before he does it.
Yeah, he's going to do it, but when it's 4th and 30 is when he's going to step up.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chiefs, I'm slightly more optimistic than I was in week 1. Obviously, still a massive uphill battle.
I'm still scared. I think you lose next week. You play the Ravens. I think you play Sarah Jessica Parker, so I'm definitely rooting for the Chiefs there. Then you play the Lions. I think you probably lose that one. Raiders actually kind of get interesting. I think you probably win that one. But you guys have a tough schedule down the stretch.
Game. Yeah.
And hopefully Rice and Worthy are back then. But all right, we'll put a pin in it for this week for Chiefs talk.
Well, I do. Yeah, I was going to move on to Jackson Dart because I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
We keep seeing them throw in Jackson Dart for like 2 plays at a time, just to watch him do nothing. Like he doesn't throw the ball; he just kind of stands there and then he'll run it or hand it off. What's the point? Like I don't understand the reasoning. Like I guess I kind of understand. Like you just want him to get live snaps, like live
no,
reps
I don't even
when
think
it
it's
doesn't matter.
that. I think that maybe is like 15% of it. I think really what. Sorry, Janet here says, as with all great teams, there's a time of decline. The Chiefs are in it. Kelsey's slower than molasses. Mahomes' play is desperate. Broncos fan, we are blowing close games. Not cool.
Janet, you're a Broncos fan. We're not going to get along, but we can
Janet,
hold hands and sing Kumbaya about feeling pretty sad about our teams right now.
You can hang here as long as you need to, Janet. You are more than welcome to hang out with us all the time. We appreciate it, and go Broncos, I guess.
Is that the I love you hand sign?
Yeah, I do love her. Thank you for coming. Okay, Jackson Dart. So you could audibly hear this during the game. The entire Giant Stadium. Russell Wilson would do some trash shit like he has been. The craziest thing, you step back and you look at the entirety of this situation. Russell Wilson had a career game just last week. Like, we're talking like one of the best games he has ever played. And so then you sit there and you wonder, is this an anomaly? Is this here to stay? I was never bought in that. I was like, this is an anomaly. Like, this is not normal Russell Wilson. We've seen Russell Wilson for the past few years. And last week he looked like 2013 Russell Wilson, but you're not going to get that because we know what Russell Wilson is. So it is an anomaly. The entire Giant Stadium last week, or this last game, you could audibly hear them through the game-cast chanting Jackson Dart. They want Jackson Dart because they're tired of Russell Wilson.
Want him so bad.
They want him really bad. Which is awesome. Like, you got to feel good if you're Jackson Dart and you're just standing there on the sidelines like, hell yeah, like these are my people, which is cool, right? Like that's what you like as a quarterback coming in, having a whole stadium chant your name, pretty great. And the reason that they're putting him in these spliced up plays, if you watched those plays, they were read options. And that's really the interesting thing is they're putting him in there to do read option plays. And they're options, right? So he could hold the ball himself and run it. Jackson Dart, for those that did not watch college ball on Jackson Dart, he can run the ball. Like he did that in college a lot. And so he's got legs. And that's why I have compared him to Josh Allen light, because he has those same physical attributes to be able to run the ball. So they bring him in to do these read options, and I think it does a couple things. I think it confuses the defense because when you have a quarterback change up like that, the defense intrinsically is going to be a little bit confused. What are they going to do here? Right? Like this is a new quarterback, completely different play style. Are they going to pass the ball? Do we need to be worried about the run more, et cetera, et cetera? So it confuses the defense a little bit. So I think I think I'm writing the narrative more of it. They're just trying to confuse the defense, and I think they'll continue to do that to get him a little bit of playing time. I think that's the other reason, is to kind of get him, the introduction as far as like a live NFL game and actually taking a couple snaps in there, which I think is smart. I don't think that's the main reason. I think that is a part of it, but I think the other reason is just to try and confuse the defense and maybe have a chunk play there because the defense is a little thrown off at a different play caller.
So you've said that week 5 is the deadline in your mind. You said that in the preseason.
I did.
It might be a good call. But week 5 is when you said that you expect Jackson Dart to come in.
Yes.
The end of this game where Russell Wilson had a grounding call because he hucked the ball out of bounds within the 10-yard line.
He threw four balls right out of bounds.
Yeah, and then the last one, it hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
It was 4th down. Like, there's nothing to lose, and he still hits he threw it 17 yards from the closest receiver. Is that the final straw? Like,
no.
Could we expect maybe Jackson Dart as soon as this week?
No. No, we can't.
I was all on board with not until I saw that brawl. I heard that doink of the ball hitting the crossbar, and then I said, all right, he might be done.
No. This is how it plays out, Scotty. I saw into the future right in preseason, and it is week 5, and I still am an adamant believer that he's going to get one more week. I called this back in preseason. Week 5 is when Jackson Dart will get rolled out as the starter. That is what is going to happen. The fans want it. There is fan pressure when I agree, Janet, he gets one more week. He's going to play the Chargers this week. The Giants are going to lose. And then that is when they are finally going to roll Jackson Dart out in a game that he actually might be able to win, being the Saints, who I think are the worst team in the NFL right now. That seems like the right time to bring him out. And looking at the Giants' schedule, that's why I said week 5 is when he gets his start. Because everything that I had anticipated as far as what the Giants are is coming to fruition. They're consistently losing games. Russell Wilson in these 3 games has looked good in one of them. And the rest of them, he looked terrible. And he looked terrible in this game. So they're going to give him one more shot. This is his last opportunity to come out and try and do something against the Chargers. He will not, because the Chargers are a good football team and Russell Wilson and the Giants are not. And inevitably, Jackson Dart era starts week 5. I'm still adamantly of the belief that that is the case. And I think we're all going to see that come to fruition. And then I can hold up the green banner and say I was right on this one. So that's what I anticipate happening with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And it's very funny. The visual is very funny for fans when you watch Russell Wilson just absolutely fucking suck. And then the camera pans over to Jackson Dart. And homeboy has got like a diamond necklace on and his turtleneck and his one like eye black thing. And you're like, yeah, that guy's not going to be on the sideline for very long.
No.
That guy does not dress like a backup quarterback. He does not dress like a rookie. And Russell Wilson, he's literally looking over his shoulder at this maniac with a diamond necklace standing on the sidelines just waiting to take his job.
I also want to state, I don't know if Jackson Dart is going to be the savior of the Giants. I'm not really bought in on that mantra, but I do think he will be better than Russell Wilson in his current juncture. So, yeah, I think that I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to come in and fix this entire team. But he will get started in week 5. He will get started for the rest of the season. The unfortunate reality is the Giants just have a really hard schedule. I mean, the Giants have the hardest schedule in NFL. They play the Saints, and then they go and play Eagles, Broncos, 49ers. That just is not fair. For a team that was so bad last year to get screwed over this bad, I don't know what the Giants did to Roger Goodell, but they fucked the Giants over so bad here. So, yeah, the Giants are going to be bad. They're going to be the worst team in the NFC East again this year. But the optimism is, can Jackson Dart do something, pass the eye test, give some belief into the Giants organization to try and surround him with talent other than Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterbo, who looked great. And dude, he could do a flip
That's the other
backwards.
thing about this game is Scatterbo looks electric as hell.
Dude.
I saw some tweet where, people always say about white football players, like, oh, they're so cerebral or whatever. Like, there's certain things that people say when a football player is white.
Yeah.
There's one guy that tweeted, I wish I had it pulled up so I could give him credit, but there's one guy who tweeted, they're like, there's one type of white football player like Christian McCaffrey who's very cerebral and very, fluid and understand high football IQ. And then there's another type of white football player who looks like they eat crayons, and that's Cam Scatterbo.
That is Cam Scatterbo. Cam Scatterbo, he looks like a trucker you would find on the side of the road, but finds the chain gyms. I don't know what chain gyms are out there. Not Orange Theory, like a real gym.
You don't go to any gyms, bro? You don't lift?
No.
It's crazy.
No, I don't know whatever the local gym is that has chains everywhere. Cam Scatterbo goes to those in between his trucking. Thank you. He goes to the 24-hour fitness in the local community, lifts, and then gets back in his fucking 36-foot trailer and just keeps driving cross country. He can do a backflip. That was
he's
pretty
like
sweet.
if Gardner Minshew was a running back. Like him and Gardner Minshew seem like they'd be good bros.
Yeah, they probably are. That would not surprise me. All right, let's keep moving because we got a lot more to cover, and we are going to be over on time today. So let's keep this train rolling. Scotty was kickoff gate this week. There was a lot of kicking errors and a lot of games that changed due to bad kicking and blocked kicks, and so we're going to jump into that. Eagles-Rams. Eagles win this one 33-26. This, to me, was game of the week. This game had everything. The Rams, I think, were up 26-9 against the Eagles at halftime, and the Eagles came back by 19 points. Jalen Hurts had 2 rushing touchdowns. AJ Brown, welcome back to the community. It's nice to see you can be a contributing factor to your team's success. But really, this finish was surreal. Jordan Davis, he blocked a Rams field goal attempt as time expired, scooped it up, and ran it all the way down for a touchdown, which, to be fair, they still would have won this game if he didn't get the touchdown because the Rams were down by 2 points. They needed to march down the field with no time left, kick the field goal, gets blocked, game over. Ray Davis, this is a cool little stat. Ray Davis, he's over 330 pounds and ran the ball over 18. I think it was 18.9 miles per hour. He is one of the fastest recorded times by a man at over 330 pounds since like 2015 in the NFL. So that was cool to see.
Jordan Davis, by the way. You said Ray Davis.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Just wanted to give
Ray Davis is a running back.
Normally, I wouldn't say anything, but we got to give him his proper accolades because this man's out here killing it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking running back. Yeah, so Jordan Davis. That was pretty great. I was really hoping the Rams were going to win this game because I would love to see nothing more. And nothing makes me. I know you call me a Chiefs hater. I think I'm an Eagles hater well before I'm a Chiefs hater. I love when the Eagles lose because Eagles fan base is probably the most unsufferable, annoying fan base in all of NFL football. So to watch them lose brings me an immense amount of joy. And I'm very torn here because the Rams are in my conference. They're in NFC West. So them losing actually helps the Cardinals. But admittedly, I kind of wanted to see them win this game just to watch Eagles fans just cry and, be mad coming into work on Monday. So, but this was crazy. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to cover on this one per se, but we had to touch on it because this is one of 3 games that were changed at the very end.
Yeah, I know as a Chiefs fan coming off last season, I should hate the Eagles. I do hate Nick Sirianni. I cannot stand that guy.
Yeah, I hate the Eagles, but I don't hate Nick Sirianni.
Oh, I'm the opposite.
I know.
Because I look at like Jalen Hurts in this game and just watching him and the way that he interacts with his team and the way that he carries himself, like he is the quarterback that I dream of. Like that stoicism, like the way he leads is the way that I would want my quarterback to lead. But watching him at the end of that game when they kicked they blocked that field goal, and obviously that means they were going to win, and everyone else is jumping up and screaming, and Nick Sirianni's running around like a fucking toddler, like he always does. And Jalen Hurts is just stoic, just like, yep. And I think it's because he knew that, like, he's got high expectations. They just won a Super Bowl. He wants to win another Super Bowl, and they should have lost this game. Like, this is not a game that they should have won. So I think there's a pretty good chance that Jalen Hurts in his own head's like, I'm not giving us credit for this. Like, we did not do what we needed to do to secure this victory. Like, you never apologize for the wins, but you recognize, okay, we got to be better.
We walked away with
got lucky,
unscathed in a match that we should have came out.
Which Super Bowl teams do that. Like, you remember the Chiefs last year; it happened all the time. But there are teams that make it to the Super Bowl. You have these games several times throughout the year where it's like the ball bounces your way, you get a favorable call, something works out. Like it takes a little bit of luck to be the best of the best.
The biggest takeaway that I took from the Eagles specifically is they can still do it all. They just don't have to. And that really showcased in this game. I mean, like, they were down by what did I say? 19 points, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were down 19 points at halftime. And then we started seeing them throw the ball, which a lot of people were concerned of, they have one of the best wide receiver duos in the league right now. You have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, non-factors week 1 and week 2. Like, they are not throwing the ball, but they can. And I think that is dangerous, is, they lean heavily on Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts to do things with his legs. But when that doesn't work, they can flip that script and they can flip the switch and start airing the ball out. And they did that in this game. And that's what makes the Eagles really lethal. My family members who are Chiefs fans were like, did you watch the Eagles game? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, they got another win. What do you think? Who's going to win who's going to go to the Super Bowl this year? And I was like, I think the Eagles still have a really great chance to do it because they just have playmakers everywhere and they don't have to, like, let's look at the Giants. We just talked about them. Like, you saw Russell Wilson try and force the ball to Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors didn't even get a catch last week in this last game, right? Because that's it. That's all they have. With the Eagles, there is so much talent across the board that you can't defend everything every single time, and it shows. And so I think the reality is for you fantasy football players out there that are rostering A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, you play them in the games that are going to be tough because that's when they're going to throw the ball. If you're going to play them against the Eagles versus the Giants, yeah, you can probably bench them that week because they're not going to throw the ball because they don't have to. So that was my another big takeaway that I took from this game is they still got it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the Rams are good too.
No, they are.
Both these teams are going to be good for the long term as long as they can stay healthy.
Rams are, with Matt Stafford at the helm, they're always going to be good. But another kick-gate game this week is Baker Slayfield, and the Buccaneers win this game 29-27 against the Jets. Baker Mayfield threw for 300 yards. He had a game-winning drive for a field goal. There was a couple things here to unpack. First and foremost, you got to give your flowers to Emeka Egbuka. That guy is the real freaking deal, man. He is him. He had a disgusting one-handed catch. He had another beautiful sideline catch.
He was questionable in this game too.
We
weren't sure if he was going to play or if he was going to be limited. And then with other injuries that took place, homeboy stepped up, and he's the best. Definitely, they got someone really, really good in Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, he looked phenomenal. In fact, Baker Mayfield, he was asked which catch he liked more from Egbuka. In post game at a presser, Mayfield was asked this question, and Mayfield replied with, "Yeah, the one-hander. He's disrespecting my passes downfield with one-handed catches." And then he kind of shook his head and goes, "Rookies." Dude, I freaking love Baker Mayfield, man.
Who doesn't, man?
That
Baker
guy
Mayfield,
is a
he's
dog.
just like, he got to Florida, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm maybe the best in the league. He just decided. And he's been consistently awesome.
If I could trade Baker Mayfield for Kyler right now, in a heartbeat, I would do that. Like, the mentality of Baker Mayfield. If I could trade
Baker Mayfield for Juwan Taylor in a heartbeat, put him on the line. I want that dog mentality.
He at one point in time, people don't really think about this. Baker Mayfield was playing defensive line. He was lining up as a defensive lineman for the Panthers. And now he's taking the Bucs and just running with it. And I love that guy. He is just he's a man's man. Like, he's just a good dude. The unfortunate side of this entirety of this game is Mike Evans is out for the foreseeable future with a low-grade hammy injury. Looking at maybe 3 to 4 weeks is kind of what I've seen the chatter on for that. That sucks. But this is why they drafted Emeka Egbuka, because they knew that their wide receivers, being Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, are older, they're injury-prone, they've got problems. This is why you get Egbuka.
Yeah, and by the way, Mike Evans, he's going to play, 13 games this season, and he's still going to have 1,000 yards. So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
He always does.
He does.
Like, the sun rises and the sun sets, and Mike Evans gets 1,000 yards.
He's a Hall of Famer. He should be a Hall of Famer. If anybody wants to argue that, I'm here for it. Baker is all-time. Boomer Sooner. What up, Janet? Welcome back, and thank you for agreeing with us, because Baker Mayfield is a dog. All right, last kick game here. We got poopy loss for the Packers. The Browns win this one 13-10. This game is what a game. I did not have the Browns winning this game. The Browns, I don't think, had themselves winning this game. But another game that came down to the very end. A kick was blocked. Well, it all started. Jordan Love threw a pick close to his own end zone. Browns run down, get a touchdown, and then the Browns get the ball back. Or, wait a minute. The Browns, they got a touchdown. They tied the game. The Packers moved down, got blocked, and then the Browns moved down with 40 seconds left, kicked the field goal. I had to replay that in my head there. My thing, we got to watch God bleed just a little bit here. And we saw some gold blood coming down.
Calling the Packers God after 2 wins is pretty tough. Here's the takeaway from this. Here's the takeaway. It has nothing to do with the Packers. I mean, it's got a little bit to do with the Packers.
But we're talking
mostly, what we have to remember is we make fun of the Browns so much, and we make fun of all their stupid decisions and all their offseason bullshit and all the stupid people that they have trying to play quarterback there. We forget that their defense is so good.
Their defense is really good.
And they just show up and they're like, oh, yeah, we're one of the best defenses in football. And no matter how stupid our offense is, we can compete in a lot of games. And it's like, it takes us a few weeks to remember that as fans, because it happens every year.
Yeah, it does happen every year.
Every year we're like, oh, yeah, the Browns, we expect them to just be embarrassing. But then they got Myles Garrett and their whole defense is pretty good.
Yes. However, I still expected the Packers to win this game. I think the Packers expected them to win this game. Which then kind of puts into question a little bit. Look, I agree with everything you're saying. The Browns defense is legit. The Browns defense is a staple for what their team is, because their offense clearly is not. know how I feel. This makes me question my belief in the Packers just a little bit more. Because we saw them come out and just absolutely destroy the Lions. I think when that rematch happens, I think the Lions win that game. I really do.
I said it after that game.
You
ended.
did.
It's
did.
1 week, and the Lions are still the best team in the division. As far as the roster compilation is concerned, they're the best team in the division. But the Packers look really good. It's just this. It's a tough defense, and it's hard to be perfect. You can't be perfect.
Well, and that's really, that's what I want to talk about here is this was two very, I think the Packers' strength is not in their offense. I think it's in their defense. And them getting Micah Parsons, I think, further elevated that. I think that's where the Packers are really strong, is their defense. Their offense, still not 100% sold on it. And we saw that kind of come out where it was a battle of the defenses here. I think the Browns have showcased how to beat the Packers from an offensive standpoint and stop that, because that's really, if the Packers offense was electric, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But I think this for the NFC North, this really becomes a lot more interesting now that the Packers have lost, and it was to a team that is probably not going to get a lot of wins this year. This was a huge loss for them, for the in a conference where everybody is, this is, I've said this, we have all agreed on this. NFC North is the hardest division in football right now. Them losing to the Browns, this could have long-term implications for playoff picture as the season progresses. And I don't think a lot of people are necessarily thinking about that week 3, but I think that needs to be said, because in a division that is very, very competitive, this could be the determining factor between a wild card or a playoff finish in first versus you not making it. So I just wanted to state that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. A lot of the takes on the NFC North might be affected by the game that's going to be kicking off here in just 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right.
So Ravens, Lions. I mean, this is my game of the week. This is the game that I'm most excited for because it's two teams that have been discussed in the Super Bowl conversation, and rightly so. And we get to watch it week 3. So. Right. Who do you have winning this game? What are your thoughts about this game going in? It's going to kick off here in just a few minutes. So let's wrap this thing up and talk about this game that's about to happen.
Yeah, I don't really feel strongly about one side or the other. I think both these teams are very capable of winning. I know it's kind of a lame take, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. And if this game was happening in the playoffs, I would say the Lions hands down, not even close. Lamar Jackson's going to poop his pants. It's going to be a disaster. But it's week 3, and Lamar Jackson's pretty good in week 3. Historically, this is a Ravens team that, similar to the Eagles, just has kind of weapons everywhere. They can run it down your throat. Lamar Jackson can dance all over you. He can also make plays with his arm. This is a team that can do everything. And the Lions, I still say, are next to the Eagles. They have the best roster in football right now, top to bottom. But we still have to see how this coaching turnover is impacting the team long term. I'm still optimistic, but I'm not as optimistic as I was seeing them last season when all their guys were healthy and they just looked like the best team in football. So we have to see the Lions kind of prove it. They're in a spot which is interesting, which is they've impressed everyone so far, but now it's like they're in the position where it's Super Bowl or bust, and they have to prove that they deserve to be in that conversation. Whereas the Ravens, they're sort of like the Chiefs have been in recent years, which is regular season doesn't really matter all that much. They know they're going to make it to the postseason, and that's what they need to focus on. So I'm interested to see how they come out. They obviously know this is a big game. If I have to choose, and give me the score. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens. And I'm going to go 28-17.
Okay. I'm going to take the Lions 34-28. I think this is going to be, I think this game is going to come down to the wire. It should come down to the wire, but I have been an adamant believer that when it comes crunch time, Lamar Jackson can't get it done, and I think that is going to be the case today. I think that it's going to be competitive. But I expect the Lions to come out guns blazing. I think their week 1 loss to the Packers has invigorated them in a way in which Dan Campbell has a sledgehammer and is swinging left and right. I think the Lions are going to win this game, and I hope that they do, as a pseudo Lions fan. But I think the Lions have more weapons. I think the Lions are a more equipped team, and I think that when it's going to come down to crunch time, Lamar Jackson is going to have the ball. He's going to squander it. And then I think the Lions win this game. So that is how I'm concluding this one.
I'm trying to pull up the odds for this game. What would you guess the odds are?
As far as who they have winning?
Yeah.
I think that I think Vegas has the Ravens winning, I would guess. But I think the line is close. I bet it's 1.5 points.
I keep looking up week 4. That's my problem. It's not week 4 yet.
Do you want me to look it up?
No, I got it. I'm here.
Okay, what is it? I'm going to guess 1.5 Ravens money line.
Sorry.
I thought you said you had it.
I did have it, but now
I have it. They have Ravens at 4.5.
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah.
Looks
I'm
like
taking Lions.
What is this? Fanatics?
No, we ain't using Fanatics. This is DraftKings Sportsbook.
I know. I'm looking at Vegas Insider, so I'm looking at all the sports books, and pretty much all of them are at 4.5.
Yeah. So they've got the Ravens at 4.5. I'm taking the Lions, man. I'm gonna say 34-28. Book it.
I like it.
Book
I like it.
All right. That's all the time we have. Janet, thank you so much for tuning in today. Genuinely appreciate it.
Janet's one of. Well, actually, before we sign off, we've got 1,300 or so viewers over on X.com, the Everything app. That's where our main followership is. If you're watching us here, welcome to being a Brainiac. It's awesome. But we do have a couple people. We just started streaming on Twitch because, we really are placing an emphasis on being live now and interacting with people who are watching. So if you're watching us, throw your questions out there, talk shit, do your thing.
Yeah.
But on Twitch now, we're there. We're over on the streamer platform with all these young kids playing video games. And now here are a couple 30-year-olds just talking about football. I don't know if we're going to make it.
Well, not only are we on Twitch, we're also on YouTube where we're
That's
live
true.
at as well. So if you're not, I'm not a Twitch guy, but we are on Twitch. We're also on YouTube. And so you can follow along live on YouTube, leave your comments in, and we can throw them up here on the board and chat with you guys like we do with Janet here today. Janet, thank you so much for joining the show. And we genuinely want to have more of you join us. So go follow us over on YouTube, LeatherBrainz Podcast. Go follow us over on Twitch or, wherever. We're everywhere. We're on all social media platforms, and we have daily content coming out. So genuinely appreciate you guys. Go give us a follow. And we're also a podcast. So if you got things to do, but you want to tune in while you're commuting in the car, do that too. We will have Alan Casanova back next week. Hit the subscribe button wherever you are at. I love you guys. Scotty, let's go watch football. We
are
out.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you tune into our new releases every week on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out LeatherBrainz.com for all of your fantasy football needs. And remember, Brainiacs, a championship should be more than a fantasy.